Alright, in this video I'm showing the level editor I showed a while ago. I've resuscitated it to use it for exporting levels for the iPhone game. It's running on Windows, but since I use Qt and the backend is abstracted, I can easily port this to the Mac. I'm not porting it to the Mac because the artists I've talked to, they all use Windows. They don't have Macs, and they don't have the equivalent Mac software. So for now, Windows it is. And as you can see, I've got the mesh that I've shown in the prior videos on the iPhone, so it's running equally well on Windows. And you can move him around if you want. You can see him select, and I'm using grid snap. So we've seen all this before, so I'll go into showing what I've done recently. And what I've done is the concept of zones, which you can see here. These are essentially modeled by an artist, and they're chunks of a level. So in the editor, you can rearrange the chunks to form a game level, and you can also stream them in and out as you're traversing through the world. And I did this so that in this digital content creation tool, you can arrange the levels, and you don't need to be a pro at Maya to be able to create a level. And unfortunately, I'm also showing how bad of an artist I am, because I really can't model in Maya, and this is going to bear that out. But eventually, when an artist gets the hold of this tool, they'll be able to model much better levels than what I can. So I call them zones. And so eventually a level could be composed of, I don't know, 10 different zones that you can interchange and arrange to form the completed level. So the way it works is you just drag and drop the zone into the game, and there it pops up. And like I said, horrific modeling skills. As you can see, they're nothing to write home about. But that would be, say, a specific section of a level. And the way it would work is I'd have a tree or some sort of hierarchy that I could traverse to find out what zone I'm in. And then these individual meshes would also be in a hierarchy. So if I was looking at it in this direction, it'd be very easy for the engine to determine what was visible. And I'd only have to consider these three objects, this one, and this one, when determining visibility. I'm also going to have occluders in the levels so that if something's behind something else, I won't render it, but that's for a later video. So that would be one section of the level. So later on I can add, say, this second section, and that's where grid snapping comes into play. I can make them snap together. I think that's good enough. Yeah, they're aligned. So that would be another section of the level. So then eventually you could say move, well, hopefully you'll have better geometry than what I have here, but you would be able to move through the level and stream stuff in and out as you're moving through, and that would be facilitated by the zones. Originally I debated whether you could construct the entire zone from scratch in my level editor so I could arrange the geometry in the zones, but I figured, that's kind of too complicated, and I'd like to at some point have a hand at selecting what zones are arranged and in what fashion, and it would just be too difficult for me to be able to build, a professional looking zone. That's more for an artist, and they're more used to doing all that stuff in Maya. So eventually I decided let them do the entire zone in Maya, export it, and then in the editor I can place them, or someone else can do it. However, you will be able to place other things once the basic zone geometry is laid out, and that would be what I would call an asset. So if I wanted, I can dump an asset there, dump another one there. Wow, this is looking horrific, but you get the point. And again, if I want, I can orient the objects. So then there's a little bit of dynamics involved that, yeah, there are some things that you can arrange. It just won't be the actual level geometry. That will be done by the artist in Maya. And again, I could move this guy. And then I can save this out. Now, the way I do it is I save out into an intermediate text format, and I have some examples here. Where's one? Let me see. Yeah, project file, and it's a text format, so it's easy to read. And if anything goes wrong, you know, you can look through it, and someone can see what they did incorrectly. Now, this will eventually be exported into an iPhone optimized level format, and that will probably have your scene geometry hierarchies and whatever optimizations I need to do in order to have it render as quickly as possible on the iPhone. And another feature is the tool's completely dynamic, and everything can be controlled via text files, so there's no programmer involved. For instance, here are some common resources. So this is telling the editor, I want you to load all these files in this material directory, and I want you to load these assets in the following asset directory. So they can pick and choose what they want to load. You can also load level specific data. So in this case, if you load level 1, which is what I've loaded here, it'll also load these particular materials and zones. For instance, it said I want the following zone directory to be loaded, and if you look there, there's the file zone1.zn and zone2.zn, and if I have them here, yeah, zone 2, so that's zone 2, which is what you see being loaded here. So essentially the artist can control what they want loaded, when they want it to be loaded, and they can also decide what to unload. That way it relieves the sort of having the programmer involved when they need something changed. They can just go in and change it via a text file. And let's see what else. Here's the binary data for the zone meshes. I also export in an ASCII format so that you can, you know, the artist can go in, and if something's wrong, he can do an ASCII dump and go through and quickly figure out what he's done. I also have the collision geometry, which is in, this one's the binary format. Here would be the ASCII format, and you can go through. I think, yeah, here it's saved. I have a binary tree that sorts the polygons. So when I'm doing the collision checks, it doesn't matter how much geometry I have, because I can easily discount huge swaths of geometry by traversing the binary tree and discounting large sections of the scene. For instance, I think this motorcycle is 4,000 triangles, which is, it's ridiculous, but I would never have this in the iPhone, but it's really, I can really quickly select between them. And that's all due to the binary tree that I'm using to speed up the collision queries. And it's also very accurate. For instance, if I want to pick the Hell Knight, you know, I can select them and go through this little, I don't know, this little connection thing, and it'll accurately pick. So that's what I've been up to lately. I've been just bringing up the level editor for use in the iPhone game. Luckily, I was able to take most of it and sort of repurpose it for the iPhone development, because otherwise I would have lost all this code, and I really hate, say, doing all this effort and then, you know, just losing it because I decided to change my direction. The other thing I've done, or I think it was already present, but I can change the grid accuracy so you can get really fine detail. That's just in case the artist needs to go that far. I usually like to keep this at 1, and that's good enough. So right now, like I said, I have support for the zones, and eventually I'm going to export this in an iPhone optimized format, which I'll talk about in another video. And then I'll show this level, or hopefully a better design level, running on the iPhone. So till next time, that's it for now. Thanks and bye.